So, okay, the question that I was asked to think about for tonight was, what does revelation mean to me? And as you're going to hear over the next 10, 15 minutes, it's going to be a bit of a confusing picture, because I think I'm a bit suspicious of revelatory instruction or kind of authority that comes from kind of a revelatory source. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin on some reasonably firm ground, and with a familiar bit of text, because Rabbi Eli's already gone through it with us tonight anyway. But if Leah can just get the first image up on the screen for us all to see. That's great. So here we go. This is an image, an engraved image of the event that obviously took place on Mount Sinai, and you can see all those people quaking and trembling as Rabbi Eli was describing. But I guess the thing that I really want everybody to notice, but it's not massively clear from this picture, is the smoke on top of Mount Sinai. And just as you're looking at that, I'm just going to read you the little bit of the text from the Exodus narrative, chapter 19, verse 18. So here it goes. Now Mount Sinai was completely enveloped in smoke, because God descended on it in fire, and its smoke ascended like the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mountain trembled. Right, that's our image. Thanks, Leah. So as you can see from the image and from the text that we've been thinking about tonight, the drama of Revelation is quite clear, it's quite evident, apparent. But there's something really interesting, I think, being described or depicted in this image and in this text. And it's something intriguing that I found increasingly, that it kind of resonates with me. So for most of us, as Rabbi Eli was saying as well, for most of us, revelation suggests something that is being made apparent, that can be clearly seen, and even unveiled. But really, I think it's more complicated than that. And what comes with revelation is not so much like a sudden illumination, but in fact, the beginning of a journey into the terra incognito, into a place of unknowing, a place where divine revelation is necessarily obscured, and only, in a sense, to be encountered through dark clouds or smoke. And this is the paradox of revelation only ever being given in the context of its partial concealment. So there's a little bit of a paradox going on there. And certainly not in the moment of its a kind of like immediate and clarifying brilliance. No, so what's being revealed must also be concealed. That's the paradox. And I think that the message here is perhaps a warning against being swept away in what you think is going to be an exceptional moment of clarity, or of a kind of like a fulsome knowing, or of some kind of certainty. Because following that particular drumbeat brings with it the danger of presumption, and also the danger of a kind of idolatrous or potentially fixed meaning to be attached to revelation. We're not, in a sense, to be persuaded then of the rightness of something, no matter how bright or brilliant and flashy the display that revelation arrives in. Rather, these externalities must be treated, I think, with some suspicion. I've always thought of Judaism's hermeneutic tradition as one of the yet to be revealed. The yet to be revealed meanings and interpretations that in fact kind of slowly unfold within the vast structure of our community's recollection and its remembering. not in the immediate reception of or reaction to the experience of revelation. So, I think this is interesting because today, just kind of taking a broader and more kind of general point, the movement towards delay and kind of built-in obscurity that I detect in the whole narrative of Revelation, that's found also within, this story that we've been thinking about tonight, it actually runs counter to how most of us understand our lives and how they're lived today, or how we're encouraged to live our lives. So where I think today, nothing is meant to be hidden. I mean, it's as though we're supposed to be exposed to everything in the instant. Everything has to be revealed in the moment. Everything is immediate, impulsive, and available in our culture at present. But divine revelation, I think, exists within an entirely different kind of discovery. One that is deferred and is at best half disclosed in the dark cloud and the smoke that obscures it. Now, all of this reflecting that I've done over the last few days on Revelation about obscured and delayed meaning in terms of what is revealed to us prompted a slightly different, but hopefully kind of obliquely connected train of thought for me. So you're going to have to bear with me because I'm going off to a slight tangent for a moment. I started thinking about how a different kind of smoke to that experienced on Mount Sinai has been at the heart of my own encounter with, in a sense, of revelatory learning. So I realized that I'd been taught and influenced by women who had smoked, mostly cigarettes, but maybe other things as well. And these women have had a huge influence on me. So I'm thinking particularly at the moment of my own teacher, Rabbi Sheila Schulman, Zikrona Livracha, and also of, yes, thank you. That's, if those of you who are not familiar with Rabbi Sheila Schulman, there we go. That is the iconic image of her with the cigarette in hand. And as you can see, a little bit of smoke, a trace of smoke there. Thanks, Leah. And so this also led me to think that it's not only Rabbi Sheila Schulman who was a great smoker, who's had a high influence on me, but also other women thinkers, poets, revolutionary women who've come from the modern era. So we're thinking about women like the political philosopher Hannah Arendt, the revolutionary anarchist Emma Goldman, who I believe smoked a pipe and occasionally the odd cigar, and of course the avant-garde writer Gertrude Stein, often seen with a bit of a pipe, and then the modernist poet Lea Goldberg. Now I don't know, Leah, can you just get the image of Hannah Arendt and Lea Goldberg just up for people to see? So there we go. Almost exactly the same kind of posture as Rabbi Sheila Schulman, the cigarette being wafted gently, and then the kind of trail of smoke going up, and then we've got an image also of the poet, the modernist poet. There we go, Lea Goldberg. There's a theme here. There's a theme here. Great. Thank you, Leah. So here we go. I hope you're still kind of keeping up with this odd tangential thought that I've had. So as smoke symbolizes our necessarily obscured communication with God, I think that in the modern era, smoking was central to the performance and communication of the philosophical, political, creative, introspective ideas of that incredible modern generation of Jewish thinkers. And so for Rabbi Sheila Schulman, cigarette smoking, I think, captured an entire way of being and thinking as a feminist. And it momentarily kind of crystallized this whole thing that Rabbi Sheila did in the performance of the rolling up of the cigarette. So Sheila was a great kind of roller up of Golden Virginia tobacco. And it was in the preparation and lighting of her roll-ups that I think kind of played a key role in how she actually communicated. So for her, thinking and smoking went together. She wouldn't go anywhere without her silver tobacco case. In fact, the silver tobacco case, I think, was a work tool for her. And smoking obviously was a part of the process of getting her thoughts organized. And it was obvious when listening to Rabbi Shulman that smoking, in a way, created the necessary pause, or the kind of like the essential delay between thought and speech. It was a way of kind of momentarily suspending an idea, or a way of kind of like, I don't know, delaying the closure, perhaps, of an idea that we were sharing. So smoking created a hiatus, which I think was quite kind of a kind of ingenious way of teaching, really. Not, of course, that you could do it today. I'm not recommending that at all. But, in the past, it was a good way of kind of creating a hiatus. Now, just very quickly, I don't know how much time I've got, a little bit more time. I want to focus on the poet Leah Goldberg, who was rarely seen in public without smoking. So wherever Leah Goldberg went, there was often a cloud of smoke kind of like around her. And although this detail might seem a bit kind of like prosaic, or in fact a kind of like a minor kind of idea or detail that we shouldn't really like pay too much attention to, I actually think that the habit, and I kind of like alluded to this already, but the habit of smoking in the beginning of the kind of the modern era for women signaled a major societal change in the first half of the 20th century. Smoking was a signifier of women's modernity, of their journey towards liberation. Now, it might have not done their health very, very much good, but, and Leah Goldberg didn't lead a very healthy life. But as a smoker, Leah Goldberg was saying something about herself as a neue Frau, as a new woman who sought sort of self-realization, equality, and independence of thought, speech, and action. So no surprise then that smoking quickly became her trademark. And as such, it came to occupy a key position in various representations of her, as we've already seen in the classic kind of photo of her. But it also is part of, figures in parts of kind of critiques of her, in interviews with her, in visual images of her, as we've seen, in which she always seems to be holding a cigarette. So a specific kind of image of Leah Goldberg was being cultivated then. And this is reflected in a particular recollection of her by a friend when Leah Goldberg and all her kind of like, I so wish I'd been around in 1930s Tel Aviv to sit in that cafe society. But this is a recollection that was made of Leah Goldberg by one of her friends. Oh, actually, Leah, have you got a image 5? It's, this is actually Leah Goldberg sitting in a cafe with a friend. She's actually sitting outdoors, which is probably a little bit healthier for everybody. Obviously, good weather in Tel Aviv allowed you to do that. Thanks, Leah. So this is the observation. She used to sit in the afternoon in Cafe Herlinga. I used to see her from the street, through the large window of the cafe. She would be revealed, poring over her notebook, thin, her back rounded like a bow, shrouded in a fog of cigarettes. She looked like she was made entirely of spirit. So that's a recollection of a friend who used to see Leah Goldberg sitting in the cafes, surrounded in smoke. Now, Leah Goldberg's almost entire literary persona was created then in the smoke-filled cafes of 1930s Tel Aviv. And her first collection of poems, published in 1935, was given the Hebrew title of Tabaot Ashan, smoke rings. So it's obviously, at the forefront of Leah Goldberg's mind as well. And so from this collection of the first published collection of poetry of Leah Goldberg's, there's a particular poem that stands out for us tonight. And it speaks about revelation. And it's called, I know you've all been waiting for the point, the connecting points here. So here we go. It's called I Saw My God in the Cafe. Now, the poem depicts God as revealed in the thick cigarette smoke of the busy cafe, as an ephemeral entity, only to be partially seen, intangible, half disclosed, and easily mistaken by Lea Goldberg for someone or something else. And although there are obviously masses of different interpretations of this poem, I'm just going to look at one particular word that actually occurs in the second line of the poem. So the word that she uses is the Hebrew word for revelation, which is hitgalut, which I think Rabbi Eli was talking about as well. So what I want to momentarily focus on is this word, because what's so interesting about it is that it shares the root with the Hebrew word for exile, galut, suggesting then, but not necessarily, but suggesting then that perhaps within revelation, there is a necessary distance, an exilic movement away from the immediacy of the revelatory moment. Revelation is not something that we should dramatically and instantly receive in the moment of its disclosure, but it's more of an unfolding condition in which we're meant to dwell. So let me now share the Lea Goldberg poem with you. It's going to be in the English translation. Here we go. I saw my God in the cafe. He was revealed in the cigarette smoke, depressed, sorry, and slack. He hinted, one can still live. He was nothing like the one I love, nearer than he and downcast. Like the transparent shadow of starlight, he didn't fill the emptiness. By the light of a pale and reddish dusk, like one confessing his sins before death, he knelt down to kiss man's feet and to beg his forgiveness. Thanks, Leah. So there's an awful lot contained in this short poem. And as I say, I'm just kind of focusing on the sense that it conjures up of kind of like God's estrangement from us, even in the moment that God is kind of like revealed to us. So there's this necessary distance, I think, that's kind of captured in this word hitgalut, between us and God, symbolized, kind of like brilliantly and provocatively by Lea Goldberg in the cigarette smoke of the cafe rather than the smoke on Mount Sinai. And so we're back to where we began. In this distance, in the exilic pause or gap contained within revelation, this is what's important to me. Not what we believe has actually been revealed, but the distance in a sense that it's created in. And for us tonight, that's kind of metaphoricized in this language of obscuring smoke that protects us from the presumptive or literal representations of what is believed to have been revealed on Mount Sinai. If the obscuring smoke was not there, either on Mount Sinai or in the cafe that Lea Goldberg was so kind of like creatively inspired by, then the immediacy or the trying to kind of capture the experience of the kind of the revelatory encounter would bring with it a closure of revelation. It's this obscuring smoke that gives us pause to think in, to live in, and to grow in, not to conclusively arrive in. Revelation is not a moment that can or should be captured. We're not meant to understand it easily or quickly. Revelation yields its force and singularity of being only gradually. Our understanding, no matter how stridently we believe in it, can only be provisional. More importantly, it must only be provisional. Now, this is the conclusion. This is just my conclusion. This is how I understand revelation. which is to say, not very well. But then I guess that's the whole point. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it.